Hey, beautiful. How are you doing today? So, I want to bring up something about healing today. Many of us, all of us perhaps listening here, uh, we've worked a lot on ourselves. We've come to an understanding that there are emotions that we've suppressed and traumas in our life, and that recognizing our patterns and our types of attachments and all these things is helpful to understand how we move through life and what triggers us. But for many of us, it's like an endless thing. We might have been doing it for years or for decades, and it's like there are still things that we find, and it's like, oh my God, here's a deeper layer and a deeper layer and a deeper layer. What I want to say is that at some point, we have to move forward. At some point, we have done enough healing. Yes, the awareness and understanding of what makes us tick is important if it's a path that we've chosen in order to understand ourselves better, to have better relationships, to enjoy life more, to contribute to evolution of the species. But at some point, I think that it becomes a trap. And here's why I think that. At some point, there is a danger that we actually get really attached to the reward that we get when we figure something out, to the reward that we get when we feel that we've healed something. Maybe you've heard there are actually some chemicals that are released, happy hormones, when we figure things out, and there is this little high that can become an addiction, chemical addiction to figuring things out, healing, and having these aha moments. It's like, oh my God, I've identified something else. There is a chemical addiction that happens when we repeatedly go through that. And it's a fine line to know when is it that it's still worth going on, and when is it that we're just kind of in this rabbit hole of endlessly peeling layers, because they are endless. We will never stop having to heal or understand ourselves or releasing things as long as we live. My mom is 90, she's still doing it. There's this thought that I had a little while ago. You know, when we do all this inner child work, at some point, we become helicopter parents. It's like our inner child, we are constantly talking to it, coddling it, reassuring it, and saying, I love you, and all this. But again, at some point, we kind of have to put a little bit of distance between us constantly being present to it and just kind of let it be. And the other point that I want to bring up about this is that this idea of trauma, that word even, trauma healing, it has become a collective energy. You know, we're online, we're reading books and following podcasts and classes and coaches, and the buzzword is become trauma. Your trauma, your trauma, your trauma, your trauma, your trauma. And what happens when this is something that is like ubiquitous, like it's everywhere around the planet? Everybody talking about trauma. We know when everybody talks about fear, the fear grows. We fuel that energy. And I think that with trauma, it's kind of the same idea. Right now, we can't escape it. If you're in the personal growth, spiritual growth world, it is trauma, 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 trauma. Look at your trauma, release your trauma, know your trauma. And I think at some point it's enough. Because once we've learned to identify our triggers, understand traumas, and be able to go to the source and feel the emotions and release and show ourselves some compassion, I think the idea is to get to a point where that work kind of becomes second nature. Just like if we want to take care of ourselves, we're mindful of how we eat, we're mindful of exercising, of going to nature, of trying to get as much sleep as we want. Working on our traumas and triggers and all these things should become part of that self-care routine, but not remain the focal point of our lives. It doesn't mean that we're physically fit and our body is perfect. Doesn't mean that we eat perfectly and that our body is lean. It doesn't mean that all our wounds are healed. But at some point, we have to ask ourselves, okay, what's next? Because we have bigger and better things to do. There's a great metaphor to associate with that. Imagine that you are given a piece of land, a forest, that you want to prep in order to plant the garden, the vegetables, the fruits, the flowers, whatever you want to grow there. So you're going to start and you're going to cut down the trees, and it's going to be a lot of work. Then you're going to dig for the stumps and you're going to remove them. Then you're going to start removing the big boulders and then the smaller boulders. And if you want to, that can be endless work until the soil is absolutely perfect to get the crop that you want to get. But what is the point in continuously getting a finer and finer sifter so that you can get to the smallest pebble and then go to every corner of your land and see if there is one rock there and one little root that you didn't get to? At some point, it's time to plant seeds, tend to the growth, and create the garden and what it is that you want to accomplish, to live in, to enjoy. At some point, it's time to do that so that we can get to walk around in our garden and enjoy the fruits of our labor. And as we are in that space of enjoyment of everything of beauty that we've created, then we can start thinking of new projects and new goals. And it's not only important in our personal lives. This is something that's important for the collective. If we want Earth to become a new Garden of Eden, we have to start, each of us, to plant our garden and stop working on preparing the ground. We have to start planting and growing our own piece of real estate. So it's just a thought that I wanted to bring because so many of us are overwhelmed by the endlessness of the healing work, and we are taken deeper and deeper and deeper into it by all the coaches, classes, books, and all the things that are presented to us. I just feel like it's enough. We have done enough healing. It's time to stop hovering over our inner child. It's time to look at our soil and say, I am planting what I want to see in my life and what I want to see in the world so I can enjoy it, so that we evolve, so that we create something better in the world. We have to stop focusing only on our trauma and our wounds and our healing. It's important, but we also have to build the new system and the new earth that we want to see. Those are my thoughts for today. By the way, I wanted to say to all of you who commented on my post last week, because I was struggling and feeling so much pressure and a lack of energy to be able to make a video on Sunday. And all the comments that you guys posted were so loving and supportive. It really, really touched me. And every time I read your comments, like I said, I don't always answer, but I really, really appreciate them because they are so loving. I am such a privileged content creator to have people like you, because some people say that comments is the garbage of YouTube. Not for me. It's a place where I go to fuel myself to be here and continue, because there is just so much love. And because we are getting close to Christmas, I want to suggest that you go check out my book on Amazon. It's 29% on sale, and this is an unusual memoir, kind of a self-help memoir hybrid. And it's funny and it reads like a novel for some people, and for others it takes them deep into their own heart. So I would like to suggest that you take a look. That's my only pitch. Okay, thank you for being here. Thank you for your love. And I send you my love. I love you, and I will see you soon. Bye.